My name is Charlie White and I'm one of the educational consultants here at Just2easy. Today's session is going to be looking at how you can use the Just2easy tool suite to develop social, emotional and mental health skills with your children. So we're going to look at all sorts of different ideas, activity ideas that you can do with your children and how you can use the tools in that way. Before we get started, we are going to go through lots of activities today. So if you have any questions as we go, feel free to pop them in the chat. I think actually we're quite a small group. So Mary, do you want to unmute? So if anybody wants to call out to be able to unmute yourself and call out any questions as we go through, I'm really happy for that. If you don't feel like shouting out, then do feel free to drop a message in the chat. We've got Mary in the background supporting us today, so she'll be able to answer any of those questions or pass them on. Also, I'll try to take pauses as I go through to just check in and see if anybody's got any questions. The session will be recorded today as well, so if you want to come back and have a look at any of these ideas afterwards, you will be able to do that. So what we're going to have a look at today, I've split the ideas in several different categories. So we're going to look at different ways that you could check in with the feelings of the children in your class throughout the day. We're going to look at other ways that children might be able to share their feelings with you using the Just2easy tool suite. We're going to have a look at some activities that encourage discussion and conversation about feelings. Some that children can do themselves and some that you can find in our library. And we're going to finish off by looking at some colouring activities. And we're going to use quite a few different tools within the tool suite today. So we're going to look at stars, at message. We're going to go into the library and have a look. We're going to look at activities you can do in J2E5 using the whiteboard, using the video camera, and several different tools within JIT. So we'll make a start on some of the activities. We're going to start by thinking about ways that you can check in with how your children are feeling, either first thing in the morning when they arrive, or after break time, or any point during the day when you might perhaps notice that children are bubbling up and you just want to check in with how they're feeling. And we've got 3 different ways that you could do that today. The first, if you're using J2 Stars, is to get children to edit their avatars to show you how they're feeling. And this is really quite a quick and simple process for children to do, which I'll show you in a minute. Children can do that first thing in the morning, perhaps when they come in, and you will be able to see on the whiteboard how children are feeling if they want to tell you that. The nice thing about this one is they don't have to change it if they don't want to, if that's not something they feel comfortable with. But if they do want to, it's a nice way for them to show you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into a demo child account within my school. So we're going to be Harley this afternoon. And if I click on Harley's J2 Stars on his launchpad, you can see this is Harley's avatar that he's already set up for himself. But he can easily change it whenever he feels like it. So I could ask Harley this morning to edit his avatar and show me how he's feeling. And to do that, he would click on this little pencil icon next to his avatar here. And he can change different parts of his avatar, but to show me how he's feeling, we might get him to think about his mouth and his eyes. So it might be that Harley's feeling a little bit wobbly this morning and he just wants to share that with me. We can actually make this quite expressive. So we could show that Harley's just feeling a little bit sad this morning, perhaps. And if he saves that, that changes what his character looks like. If I now come back to my launchpad, go into my stars, he's in this class. There's Harley, and I can see that his avatar has changed and he's maybe feeling a little bit sad. And I can then go and check in with Harley, find that bit of quiet time for him to make sure that he's feeling settled ahead of the learning today. And that's something I could ask children to do every morning, just to give me an indication of how they're feeling. And that's within J2 Stars. So let's move on. Does anybody have any questions about that before I move on to the next one? Okie dokes. Pop anything in the chat if you want to as we carry on as well. So the next activity is something that I've created during using the J2 whiteboard, and it's something that's quite easy to create for yourself. If I open it up, I've just got to find it, so bear with me a second. Where's it gone? Here we go. Okay, so I've typed some text onto my board. Good morning, how are you feeling today? I've left one out so I can show you what I've done here. And I've got 4 different feelings. I'm happy, I'm not sure, I'm sad or I'm worried, and I'm cross, with some faces above so children can see very easily, those children perhaps who aren't reading yet. And what children can go and do as they arrive in the morning, or at any other point during the day you could do this, is they can click on the face that shows how they're feeling. Now, I hope that you can hear this. Each face has some sound linked to it, which gives a suggestion for what the child might do based on how they're feeling.
Charlie, just so you know, we aren't getting the sign through.
Ah, thank you. Okay, I'm not quite sure how.
I think it's just the way it was set up, but yeah, we can imagine that it's
okay,
saying
that's
it for
fine.
us.
I wonder if I will just give it one try and stop sharing and share again. And yeah, it should be there. Ah, no, there we go. Let's see if that makes it any better. Can you tell a friend what's making you feel happy today? Is that any better?
Perfect.
Lovely. Read a bit of your favourite book or play a game with a friend. Go to the calm corner, take some deep breaths and count to 10. So I'm going to add in one more just to show you how I've done that. Obviously, this is something that if you were going to do, you could come up with your own suggestions, add your own audio. In Whiteboard, I find my pictures in a slightly different place, although it looks a lot like J2E5, I find my pictures in a slightly different place. And that is on this right-hand side here, there's a tab that says Media. So I could look for a sad face. See if we can get a different colour one. Here we go. That one will do, and I can drag it on and resize it. And then if I click to select it, and then click on this button in the top toolbar, which looks like a little film reel and a microphone, and click record sound. Because I have my my image selected, if I now record some sound, it will add it to that picture and create like a little sound button. So if I'm feeling sad, I might suggest that a child perhaps comes to talk to an adult. Find an adult that you trust to talk to about what's making you feel sad this morning. And click to add selection. And this should now work in the same way as the other buttons. Find an adult that you trust to talk to about what's making you feel sad this morning. So just a different way of getting children when they come in, really getting an idea straight away of how they're feeling, but also this time giving them some suggestions as to what they might do based on how they're feeling. Any questions about that one before I move on? Okay, lovely. Going to get rid of that. And the last one, same kind of idea within a different tool, is using pictogram in JIT to record the different feelings in the class. This one might be a useful one if you want to then save those and just get an idea of when your class are feeling particularly having a tricky time after a break or a lunchtime, for instance. And I created this quite simply by going into JIT and clicking on the pictogram tab. Now within pictogram, if you haven't used it before, there are all sorts of templates I can click to load up, but I don't have a feelings one, so I'm going to click on the blank template. The first thing I do is I add my images by dragging them into the bottom boxes, and I would do this perhaps over lunchtime before my class come in. I'm going to use some of those same kind of pictures I had before. So we could have a sad one. I just click on the image I want and I click in the box to drop it in there. We've got a happy one here. Click to drop it in that box. I might, let's see what else. Feeling poorly, perhaps. These ones are all images I have saved in my files, so they are coming up into this little person here. Probably very small if you can see that, but I could search for some using a Google search as well. So we've got a bit of a worried face we could drop in here. Just scrolling through the images that are in my files, and we've got an excited one here. We'll drop that into the last one. If I wanted to add another picture, on the right hand side we have a plus and a minus. That will allow me to add more boxes. So let's add one more item there. And let's go for this cross face, because we often, I don't know about you, often my children were very cross when they came in from lunchtime if they got into a bit of a fight with their friend. So there my pictogram is now set up. I could display that on a whiteboard if I wanted to. And children now can use that pictogram. If I untick this little edit box, it will get rid of that extra plus and minus if I want to. And they can come in and hit the plus button next to how they're feeling. So if they're coming in feeling that they've had a great lunchtime, they might come and pop that one. The next child might come in and say they're feeling a bit wobbly or a bit poorly. And as the children add their feelings, it will start to build up a picture for me of how my class are feeling after their break time, when I've maybe been away from them and I just want to get an idea before I start teaching of where we're all at. Take that 5 minutes to calm everybody down if I'm seeing a lot of sad or angry children. I could save this at the end of each break, so I could call this 20th of March and save one for each day if I wanted to, and really get a picture of how lunchtimes or break times are going for my class. Before I move on, does anybody have any questions about that one or about using pictogram at all? Okay, I'm sure Mary will give me a shout if you put anything in the chat, if you have any questions. So perfect, thanks Mary. So 3 versions of the same kind of idea, 3 different ways you could do that depending on what might work for you and your class at any particular time in the day. We're going to move on now to a couple of different ways that children might be able to share their feelings with you a bit more in a bit more detail. The first one is by using message. Now, message is something that often people are using to contact parents, but you can optionally set it up so that children can message you as well and vice versa. So if I go back to my demo pupil Harley, and I'm going to say he is sat in a lesson and he's finding something really hard, and he doesn't know how to tell me, or perhaps he's coming in the morning and something's happened last night that's really upsetting him and there just hasn't been the space or the time for him to come and tell me, but he wants to tell me. I'm somebody he trusts and he wants to let me know that he's having a hard time. He could send me a message. So he would click on his message. On the left hand side we have 2 different tabs. I'm going to click on the one with the people because that will show me the individual people, and I'm in my Charlie account, so I'm going to click on that. And he might say, I'm feeling sad this morning. And if I now come back to my account, I straight away can see that I've had a new message from Harley, and I can have a look. And I can think about how best to go from there. I might like to message him back. Would you like to talk about it now or at playtime? We can have that discreet conversation that none of the other children need to know about. It's all completely e-safe. All of these things are saved. It's completely safe to use with your children. But nobody else, we can just keep that it's another channel, a discrete channel that your children can use to let you know if they're having a hard time. There is the option, if that's not something you're wanting to use in your school, you can turn this off. Children don't have to be able to message you. And so you can turn that function off in message. It's up here, so I've lost it, Mary. It looked different a second ago. Okay, I'll have a look and find that in a second, but you do have that option. It's not something you have to enable, but it's a nice little feature you can use if message is something you're using within your school. Does anybody have any questions about that before I move on? Okay, let's get rid of that one. And there it is. When I've opened it up and gone back to class 1, just so you can see, if I look along the top here are my different options, and the little blue speech bubble with a tick in, if I untick that, pupils can no longer message me. Tick it and they can message me again. So you do have that control from your main class rather than from the individual pupil. And the next little idea we're going to look at is actually using the video tool. And we're going to think about creating some video diaries. So this might be a project you might like to do with your children, or it might be something that you have set up for more regular use. But what I have created here is a J2E5 file, which I can share with my children. So I started off by just adding a plain blue background, and I do that at the bottom here. And I've added some text and some boxes. I can lock all those into place and share that with my children. So the way that I would share that with my children, I can do it from in J2E5. These two little purple people on the top toolbar here, if I click on those, I can share that with my class. So let's share that with that teaching class that we've got. If I now go back to Harley's account, in his shared files, shared with this class, he can see this template. And I can ask children each day to just record a little bit of video, and we can do this straight into just2easy if with any device that, if you're using on a device that has a camera. Or it could be done elsewhere and uploaded, and get them to tell me about how they're feeling each day. I've done one already.
Today I feel excited because I'm going on holiday tomorrow.
So if I show you how I've recorded this, and we could add another one in. So I've clicked on this video tile here. I'm hoping this will work, even though I'm on presenting. Let's see. Today I'm feeling really sleepy because I stayed up very late last night. It's going to be really hard to concentrate today. Today I'm feeling really sleepy because I stayed up. So once I've recorded my video, I click save. That will save that to my files area. Now it will just take a few minutes to convert. I can still use it in that time, but I can't play it back from here just straight away. But if I come back to my video diary, I'll find this in my picture library. So we're in J2E5. So along the top toolbar here is this little photo frame icon. And there on the right hand side now is that video I've just recorded, and I can drag that onto the page, resize that. You can see it's already sorted now, so that will play back. And there we go, we've added that next day's video diary. Today I'm feeling. So another way of children perhaps sharing slightly more detailed feelings with you, or just a way of them recording their own feelings so they can have a look back on it. We could set that for a bit of homework as well if we wanted them to add to that in that way. If the video is recorded elsewhere, it could be uploaded. by simply dropping from your computer into this area of your My Files here, it would then still work in exactly the way that I've just shown you. So before I move on, I will ask again, is there any questions? Anything you'd like me to go back over, or are we good to carry on? Okay, we will move on. So we're going to look at some activities now that might be useful in wider discussion about feelings, about social, emotional, mental health. We're going to look at 2 more child-led activities, and then I'm going to show you a range of activities that we have in the library that could also be useful for this. So to start off with, we're going to think about creating posters of affirmations that the children might choose in J2E5. Now, this could be really anything. You could give children things you want them to say. You could ask them to come up with their own or to research their own. But they're really nice and simple to create, and we're going to use J2E5 again. So if I open up J2E5, I did a few simple things to create this poster, but they could be as simple or as complicated as your children like. First of all, you're going to ask them to think about or research an affirmation, something that they want to think to themselves, remind themselves of. It could be a quote, or it could be something as simple as, let's go for, I am brave. A little reminder for themselves. So in J2E5, we just click anywhere and we can type. We can then drag out these squares to make it bigger. We could change our font. There are more fonts at the bottom here, so children could spend some time choosing a font that they like. Let's try this one. Lots and lots and lots of fonts that they could use. I'll go with this one. They can change the orientation of the page. So I could make this, because it's a slightly smaller one, I might turn my page landscape and centralize that there. We can also, along the bottom, so the toolbar along the bottom of J2E5 is all relating to the page itself. So I can zoom out a little bit so I can see the whole of my poster in one page, like so. They can change the colours. We could even do something like a rainbow by highlighting each letter and changing the colour of it. They can make this as personal to them as they would like to make it. The more you use J2E5, if you haven't used it a lot before, the more you realise that it can do. And we could then add some pictures. We could add a background. So let's have a think. We could go to our picture library. We could, I wonder what happens if we put in, I'm just going to show you the photo. So they might choose to add some pictures of things that they would think are as brave. So let's put this child climbing on this one. I could add that as a whole background to the page, like that. Let's move that across. To make it a background, I need to do 2 things to my picture. So first of all, I've just dragged it on and resized it. I need to send it to the back, and I'm going to do that with this little stack of papers with an arrow from the bottom. And I'm going to want to lock that into place. I can now move my writing. Let's do it like that. So it sits on the page where I want it to. So children could spend, I've just done that very quickly to kind of give you an idea what I've done. If I go back to this one I did earlier, I added a watercolour sunset type background. I added a picture on the bottom, and I added my text with a few extra spaces in on the top. But it could be something with lots of pictures. It could be that children create some of their own pictures in JIT and save those as images and add those on. They could really take their time with this to really focus on a message, something that they want to think about. And then they could be shared with peers in school, or they could be printed out for those children, creating a display in your classroom of things that children think are really important to remember. And that's using J2E5. So obviously J2E5 is quite a big topic to go into if you haven't used it before, but does anybody have any questions on that I can help with? Okay. Let's get rid of some of these. Okay. The next idea for thinking about activities that will really promote this kind of discussion is to think about creating an animation with a storyline. Now, if you haven't used Animate before, this is not necessarily the easiest kind of animation that you could do. There are lots of other animations you can do in Animate that are simpler to start with. If you want that starting point, I suggest that you have a look in the library or the help tile if you want some of those. But it's not too complicated either, just quite time consuming. So I'm going to go into JIT. No, I'm not going to open it up from my files actually. We're going to open the Animate file for the little animation that you've just been seeing here. So you can see along the bottom we have all of our frames. First of all, we have our background, which is just the playground. And then in each frame, I've stamped on these people, these children, and I've stamped the ball moving across a little bit further each time to make it look like they're throwing the ball to each other. And we've added some speech bubbles as time has gone on so that they start having a conversation. Hey, who's that? So I'll show you we've got to so far. And I'll read them just in case it's a bit small for you. And then we'll add the end. Hey, who's that? Don't know, never seen her before. Should we ask her to play? No, I like our game as it is, but she might feel left out. I'm going to ask her. Hey, are you new? Yes, my name's Hannah. So we're thinking about situations that might happen in the playground, situations that where children have a chance to kind of impact on other people's feelings, maybe having a bit of a discussion about what might be kind of a kind or an unkind response to certain situations, and then children can create little animations to act those out, I guess, for want of a better word. And to show you how we finish that off, to add a new frame to an animation, I'm going to click on the green plus button. And I'm going to stamp my characters. I've just got to find them. Just bear with me a second. So here's my little boy. So easy. Flip him around. I need to make him about the same size as he was before when I started this animation. I'm going to put him in the same place. And you can see why it's quite time consuming. I'm going to give him the ball. I would just do a couple of frames to show you how I've done this, because this is the kind of activity children can spend lessons and lessons on. And I'm going to find Hannah and stamp her on. And then this character, I think, came from our image library here. So let's see if we can find her, people. There she is. And what I'm going to do, because I want a little pause between before this character says something back, so I'm going to use the red plus button, which will copy the background and the people, and just give it a couple of seconds of pause. And then this new character, this character, this girl here, is going to ask her to play, and we'll do that with a speech bubble. So I type the speech in here. Would you like to play? And again, I'll just copy that whole screen a few times because I want to make sure that we can read the text. And let's see how that looks now. I can speed up my animation a little bit at the bottom with these arrows. And we've finished on that extra bit of speech there. So as you can see, this is definitely not a quick process, but it is a really nice way of getting children to have a think about what they might do in certain situations and have a play around with what different characters can do and might do and how they might respond in a really safe way. But it just takes a little bit of time to do this kind of animation, but it's something that children tend to really enjoy. Does anybody have any questions on that before I move on to something looking at the resources we have in the library? Okay. So we then have, hopefully you will have seen the library before, but there are quite a few resources in the library that are really useful for this kind of discussion. I've picked out a few of my favourites here. But before I look at them, if we click into the library, if you search for feelings, I think is a good tag. You can see we've got a couple of pages of all sorts of different resources here that you can use with your children that are ready to go. If you find one that you like, you can share it with your children. I can share it with Harley there. Or I can even set it directly as homework for a child. And if I go to Harley to show you now, if he goes to his library, he will see that resource I've shared with him there, and he can have a go at it. And it's worth saying that within the library, children only see resources that you've shared with them to make it nice and safe. So they're not seeing the thousands of resources that are in there, but just the ones that teachers in your school wanted to share with them. So some of my favourite of the social, emotional, mental health resources that we have in the library are here. So we have, this one is called How Might They Feel? Children need to read each situation and have a think about how that person in that situation might be feeling. There's actually a few of these in the library. Some of them, this is an easier one. There are some a bit more complicated, some on different themes. But we have things like, Zane is 8 tomorrow. He has a birthday party tonight. So this is a really nice, simple one. Even your youngest children, I'm sure, are going to be thinking that he's going to be feeling really excited. And they can click and type that into the speech bubble. And when they save that, it will save to their own My Files. We've got all sorts of different themes. There is another one in the library like that with much more complicated situations. So here we have things like Maria's best friend just asked to copy her homework. Maria worked hard on her homework. Her friend is worried about getting into trouble for not doing it. So much more sophisticated discussion there about how that person might be feeling. So that's that one. Here we have another whiteboard file. So this might be one that you display for your whole class. And these words can be moved around to drag to the right area in the whiteboard. So there's slightly more in-depth, complicated feelings that come under maybe those, to sort them into those 4 categories that children might be more familiar with. So how are you feeling if you're feeling, what kind of a feeling is peaceful? What kind of a feeling is panicked? And you can get a lot of discussion there going about some words that maybe children are less familiar with to help them to be able to explain how they're feeling next time they're feeling something that maybe don't quite understand. So one that you could display on the whiteboard and look at together. Here we have one of our quick write resources, so that we have these are lots and lots of different stimuli that you'll find in the library for writing. So this one simply asks, what does angry feel like? And children can really have a think about when they're angry, how does that feel in their body? How might they recognise that they're feeling angry? And then here we have our feelings monster. This is another JIT resource, a JIT paint resource this time. Can you create your own feelings monster? How do you think they're feeling? Draw your monster's face and colour it in. So again, just getting them to explore perhaps what different feelings might look like, and what perhaps people might be feeling if they're looking a certain way. And again, once children start to work on that and they click save, that will go to their My Files, as well as appearing in the pupil files area of your My Files. So that's a few of the resources that I really like in the library that you might want to share with your children. But as I said, there's a good couple of pages there of different resources that are just ready to go if this is the kind of topic you're looking at doing with your children. The last kind of activity we're going to look at in depth today, and I think we're going to have a little bit of an early finish today, is you have the ability to create colouring sheets for yourself. There are some colouring sheets in the library already, but you can create your own colouring sheets for children, or children can create their own colouring sheets in Paint, in JIT, and I'm going to show you now how you can do that. So if I open up JIT and go to Paint, obviously I have some templates here that I can add. There are some colouring templates in there. Obviously colouring can be a nice, calm, relaxing thing for children to help them regulate their emotions. But we can make more. So I have some pictures in my files, but also if I click on this little world here, I can do a Google search for a picture. If I click on that one, it will add that in. And then the fill bucket in the Paint toolbar at the side will fill within those lines. So I can either use my paintbrush to colour things in, if children wanted to do that, or I can use the fill bucket if I want to make it lovely and neat to fill in the different letters like that. Just perhaps a nice, relaxing, calming activity for children to do if they're coming in and they're telling you after the playground they're feeling really worked up and you just want them to focus on something really nice and mindful. This can be a really nice activity to do with them. So that's creating colouring sheets. Let's come back here now. So before I finish, just to say, obviously this session has been recorded, so it will be available on our YouTube channel. I think, Mary, correct me if I'm wrong. If you want to go back and watch, obviously I've gone through quite a lot of different ideas today, so feel free to go back and watch that. Give us a day or two to get it uploaded. For other support, you can follow us on any of our social media. We're often uploading, sharing different ideas with you there. So we have Twitter, Facebook, Instagram and YouTube. If you have any specific problems, please feel free to email support@j2e. We do pride ourselves on helping out anywhere that it's needed and really responding really quickly. And then we have just2easy.com, which is the main site website. Before I finish, just a quick plug for our competition that we're running at the moment. Going back to the library that we were looking at, any resource added to the library between now and the 25th of March is in with a chance of winning a £30 gift voucher and an Easter egg, and that's for you as the teacher, no need to share with your class. So if I just go back into the library, If I go to the My Resources tab and click here to add a resource, if you add a resource and you publish it to the library, we will pick our favourites by the end of the 25th of March and they will win prizes. So just a quick little plug for that one. And beyond that, that's all I have to say today. Thank you very much for joining us. I hope you found it helpful. If you have any questions, feel free to unmute yourself and ask, or pop anything in the chat. Other than that, you are free to go. And I hope to see you at some training at some point in the future. Thanks again for coming.
Charlie, we just have one question coming through. How do we remove a character and animate?
That's a really good question. So let's bring that animation up. Has it gone? Sorry. Where did I put it? Sorry. I think I've closed it down, haven't I? The simple answer, you can't just click to remove a character. So you would have to erase it from the background. Here it is on each slide, or remove the slide. So if I go to where I've added in my newest character, just scrolling through the frames at the bottom to find where the character is that I might want to remove. So I can see that I've added her in there and she's starting to come in. I can't just click to remove her. So I can remove that whole slide by clicking on the red cross here. Or I can use the eraser like I would in Paint, and that will erase it to the background. Obviously, I'm then going to have to go through and do that for each slide, but if you've just popped it in the wrong place, you can just erase it like that and it will erase it back to the background. Does that answer that question? Good.
Yeah, lovely. Thank you very much.
Good. Okay, well, if there's no more questions, I think we will probably end the meeting there. Thank you again for coming and we hope to see you soon. Mary, do I need to do anything before you stop videoing, or can I just end?
I got this. I can.
Right. Thanks, Mary.
Okay, thank you. Bye.